Cam Newton, social media. Tell me how these randoms keep getting jobs. Don't worry about it. I'm going to show you. He's going to throw at the Auburn Pro Day on Tuesday. And he said on social media, ain't 32 mother bleep better than me. He's been saying that for a year now. Remember he did that interview with the Pivot podcast?
Right.
And they really came after him.
Yeah, Channing Crowder.
Was
right.
Just, he was telling it like he needed to tell it. Like, you're not the guy you used to be. Is he better than any of the current starting quarterbacks in the NFL?
No.
Is he?
No.
Right now?
I mean, I can't say that. He'd have to prove it to me. And I mean, listen, I'm not sitting here proud to say that. And this guy's a legend. He's a legend. I've done anything to have Cam Newton's career. He's the man. Definitely. But he's done nothing to prove or show us that he's one of the 32 best the last 2 or 3 opportunities we've got to see him play quarterback in the NFL. I'm sorry. That's just the fact of the matter. What we saw his last little, run there with the Carolina Panthers and Matt Rule, it wasn't very good there, And then, of course, what we saw at the end of New England, had issues both on and off the field a little bit there. So, that's where I would say no. He's got to prove himself to me and get out there and play and show himself in the preseason game to say, those type of comments, at least in my world.
Well, the off-field issue, the only thing I remember is he got stung with a COVID positive.
Well, the COVID stuff, right? Well, yeah, remember? And then he left, and then he did, I'm testing myself, and, remember all that, those shenanigans? He decided to take the league rules and the COVID, bylaws into his own hands, and he was going to change the whole system.
It really is odd to think a guy who was the MVP of the NFL in 2015, grand scheme of things, that's not that long ago, and quarterbacks should be playing deep into the 30s. But the reality is when you take the kind of physical pounding that Cam Newton has endured and your physical skills begin to diminish, can you morph into nothing but pocket passer? This is why there's a challenge for the mobile quarterbacks, and most of the good quarterbacks in today's NFL, most of the best quarterbacks have mobility to enhance their game. They extend the play behind the line of scrimmage. They take off when they have to. They make chicken salad when the play that's called goes to chicken fat. And the challenge is to transform your game. I think of Steve Young and Steve McNair. Transform your game.
Randall Cunningham
toward pocket passer. Resist the temptation to run the ball. Perfect example. Helps to have Randy Moss where you can just throw it as far as you can and he's going to go get it. But still, Randall Cunningham resurrected his career as not a mobile guy. You need to transition to a guy who does, and it's a temptation when you have 2 choices. One is I can throw the ball and, a couple of bad things could happen, or I can just run it with the confidence that I can run past these guys. I'm faster than these guys. They can't catch me. They can't bring me down. I'm 6'5". I'm a statue come to life. They can't tackle me. That's kind of the Cam Newton attitude. Goal line play. All those reps, pushing him into the end zone. At a certain point, it takes a toll on your body, and that's why if you rely upon physicality, agility, speed in your 20s, if you want to play quarterback into your 30s, deep into your 30s, it's got to be a transition at some point to a Tom Brady type of a guy who just gets the ball and throws it, gets the ball and throws it, gets the ball and throws it.
Yeah, you got to make that adjustment to where, you're explaining it right. Your legs are not going to get you, out of trouble every time or make a play. You got to start to play the position a little bit from within the pocket and make throws and good decisions and do all of that, right? We're seeing, hey, Lamar Jackson's making that transition in front of us. It is. But, legs, guys who can run like that, yeah, it's a gift and a curse. Steve Young, Randall Cunningham, whatever. Hey, the first guy's not open. My whole life I've been able to go, wait, the first guy's not open. Let me just tuck it under, and I'll go run for 30 yards when the first guy's not wide open. And that's awesome. But there becomes a point in life where you now can't tuck it and run around the edge for 30 yards any longer. You're going to have to do it a different way. You got to make that adjustment. We're seeing Russell Wilson in the process of making that adjustment, that he's got to play the game a little differently than he did 2, 3, 4 years ago. He can't move around and buy himself time or, I don't like the way that looked, even though it's kind of tight. I might be able to fit it in there. Let me buy some more time with my legs to see something more clearly. No, life's going to change that way. And, yeah, that's where, Cam Newton hasn't shown the ability maybe to make that full adjustment there. And I will say, too, maybe he hasn't been in the greatest position to show us that. But, yeah, first step is have a good pro day at the Auburn pro day. Throw the ball well. Show teams that you're still going, working. Try to get somewhere. Be the backup quarterback. Show us all, what you're, made of as far as preseason. And then we can get back into the conversation of, hopefully you're a starting quarterback or something like that. But as of right now, I don't think anybody's going to believe that Cam Newton's one of the best 32 as it stands here in 2023.
And this is where Cam Newton being a superstar works against him. It worked against Mike Vick. It worked against Colin Kaepernick to a certain extent. You don't just show up and be a backup and be content to be a backup. Now, Mike Vick eventually was able to pull it off. But the challenge was you needed to have a starter who was secure in his position because all those guys in the locker room grew up idolizing Mike Vick. Now we're at a point where guys in the locker room grew up idolizing who? Cam Newton. And that was one of the realities. Look, he got thrown overboard by the Patriots 2021 once they decided to go with Mac Jones. Why? We can't have a schism. We can't have a leadership question. Who's really in charge of this team? Is it Cam or is it Mac? Devin McCourty, recently retired by the Patriots, said not that long ago, very recently, that Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones, there was a bit of a schism in the locker room last year. You don't want that. You don't want the backup to be the Pied Piper that's leading the team and undermining the starter. And no matter what he does once he gets there, just his mere presence, that's what's working against him. Because I think he is good enough to be on a depth chart.
Sure.
But number one, he's not content to be on a depth chart. And number two, his mere presence is a threat to the overall chemistry of the locker room because guys will want him to be the starter unless he's the backup to Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts, a clear-cut franchise guy that is not going to be deterred or shaken at all. Other than that, you got Cam Newton breathing down your neck. Yeah, it's going to rattle you a little bit if you're the starter.
He's a big personality. You're right. He's a polarizing figure. Even if he's not playing great, people in the media want to go talk to Cam Newton. He's an incredible natural leader. That's what I mean, we knew that in Carolina. It's the thing you heard about in New England more than anything. Cam Newton walked in that building and had the locker room eaten out of his hand right away. They loved him. And you're right. There's that effect there. And also I think the effect, too, of, hey, that's going to scare teams. And then, two, is he a backup quarterback? And what I mean by that is, like, there's times where, Cam Newton, I think, is a guy that needs reps. I don't know if he's necessarily always the best guy to be like, hey, you haven't done anything in 6 or 7 weeks. Now come in and be on rhythm and throw the ball perfect. He's one that has always struck me as, he needs reps. He needs to stay in rhythm or at least get that rhythm, before he hits the ground running. So we'll see. I'll be interested to see what happens. I think eventually somebody will bring him in here, but I don't know if it's going to be anything quick. It might be one of those training camp type of things, evaluate our roster, see where our quarterback position is. We don't feel that comfortable with it. We need a guy that's played a little bit and won't be a deer in the headlights. If our starter gets hurt, that's where I think teams might, kick the can a little bit on Cam Newton.
See, I think the ship has sailed. He didn't play at all in 2022. I think it's over.
It might be.
This is his last gasp to try to get back in. I just think it's done. The league has moved on. He's 33 now. There aren't that many quarterbacks older than him in the NFL. Even though 33 seems young, and we've seen Tom Brady take it to 45.
Yeah, but this isn't the same.
Most of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now are under 30. And I hope he gets a chance. But, the reality is, we say this all the time. Hey, I hope the guy gets a chance. Well, if he gets a job, he's going to take away somebody else's job. You got a bunch of guys coming out in the draft who are trying to get these spots. You've got other guys who have been grinding in anonymity, trying to hold on to their spots on the depth chart. Cam Newton's trying to take a spot that somebody else already has. It's not going to be a starting spot. His best hope is a backup spot. And I think a lot of it comes down to his willingness to submit to the fact that he'll be the number 2 and refocus his personality on providing support to the starter. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.